In the unlikely event you had to deal with an animal or dog with a amputation or a very catastrophic bleed on a leg, you need to stop the blood flow very, very quickly, because they're very quickly going to lose a lot of blood, and then that can be fatal. So one of the first things you can do, if it is just a cut, is go above. You might want to just really grip hard. It's crude, but it would act as a very crude tourniquet to actually stop some of the blood. But it's not something long term. You can't do that. So you're going to need to put something on as a tourniquet. Now, if we just talk about tourniquets a little bit to start with, there are commercial tourniquets. So you'll see these in first aid kits, medical kits, the army use them, and also they're in bleed kits that are scattered around the community, inside bars and restaurants and things like that. And these are commercial tourniquets, and these are really good to use on humans, but they're not useful on animals or dogs. The reason for it is because they won't go tight enough round. So if you think even this unit here, it just won't go tight enough. It needs to be going around an arm. It's the smallest size. Whereas if you try and put that around a leg, it's just no way that's going to work. And this plate here is just going to be bent over too much. And they're just not designed for it. So these are just two examples. There's lots and lots of different commercial tourniquets available. Now, there is one commercial tourniquet which you could get away with, and this is the stat tourniquet. This is like a giant cable tie. And you can pull it through. So this is a blue one, which is mainly used within training, but there's an orange version of it as well, and they do a black one as well. Now, this would work. It does go down small enough, but it's still not really ideal. I mean, it'd be no use on something like a cat. If you've got a large breed dog, yes, you could probably get away with using that. But if not, then you need to look at an improvised tourniquet. The improvised tourniquets are something that's been happening in first aid forever. We've used them a long, long, long time. And it's where you were using a piece of material to wrap around the limb, and then something to wind it tight and tight around the limb to cut off circulation. Now, when you're doing it on any animal or on human, the technique is exactly the same. So there's different things you can use. You need something to act as a windlass to turn it around. Now, you could use a screwdriver, a spoon, a knife, anything, but it's got to be something strong. What you don't want to be using is something like a pen, which you're going to put some pressure on it, it'll just snap. So this you can wind around really, really tight and it won't be a problem. Another option is the TourniKEY Plus. This is a assisted aid product. It is designed for humans. It's a very, very effective way of controlling bleeding. It's very low cost as well, and it can easily carry it with you. I mean, that's pretty much all it is. What this is, it is a windlass for winding around, and you can tuck it back in on the dressing that you're using to stop the bleeding. It won't work in very small animals, but on the larger dogs or larger breed dogs, you could use this. Even if you can't hook it round, you can at least use it as a windlass. Now, this is a nice, easy and safe thing to put in your first aid kit. You don't really want to be putting a screwdriver in your first aid kit, but something like this is a safer option. To use this, you would take the triangular bandage, and this particular kit has got one of these inside it. If not, if you just have this or you're using a screwdriver or whatever, then you just need the bandage. So this is a standard triangular first aid bandage. All you do is just roll it up, so it's then a broad bandage. So we don't want to have it too tight, so you wouldn't want to use something like string, because all it's going to do is it will cut through the skin and go straight to the bone, and basically it's just bleed, because it will just bleed above that point. So you mustn't have something that's going to cut into the skin. That will not cut into skin, no matter how tight you apply it. You could use a tie or a scarf or something strong, or you could tear a t-shirt, something like that up would work equally well. Things like belts and that on animals, it just won't work, because you just can't get them tight enough. So what you do is just apply that around the limb and just tie that off. Then you want to put the windlass in. So this time we just use the screwdriver, lay that over the site, and then what you can do is just tie a knot to hold it in place. The screwdriver's there. You can also put another knot in if you want, just to secure it a little bit tighter. And then what you would do is literally just wind it round, and you wind it around until it's tight. Now, this is on a soft toy, so it's not going to work very well. But once you've got it nice and tight, then what you do is you can use the ends of this just to wrap it around a couple of times on the end, and then you can do the same on the other end, and you can pull that around the other side and tie it in place. There's a bit of a messy example here because it's just on a soft toy, but if you apply these nice and tightly onto an animal, you can wind it around until the blood flow stops. leave it in place, secure it, and get the animal to the vets as soon as possible. Now, if you start seeing blood coming out, just untie it again. Don't take any of the pressure off, but just wind it around a little bit tighter until we stop the bleeding. Now, hopefully you'll never need to use these skills, but if you've got a very low-cost triangular bandage or something like a screwdriver in your kit, or better still, one of these kits with you, then if the animal had any type of serious bleed, you can use it. Now, the important thing is you would not use this on minor cuts. We're only talking about life-threatening bleeding. Now, we've spoken about using tourniquets on this example on the dog, but just for information, exactly the same will work on a human. So if you ever were in the unlikely event that you had to deal with someone with an amputation or a catastrophic bleed, the way you can save that person's life is to use exactly the same, either triangular bandages in this or using TourniKEY Plus. And finally, the most important thing is you apply a tourniquet, you never take it off. Only the vet would take the tourniquet off. If you take it off too early, you can then restart bleeding and it can be quite difficult to stop the bleed again.